let's move on here. We go from sleepers, and we've got to talk about midway point kind of Heisman conversation. Where are we with the most prestigious award in sports? And I'd still, by the way, maintain that it's the most prestigious award in sports. If some of you are wondering, yes, I do use the 40-ounce Stanley. I had kidney stones, remember? I told you about that. So now I do like the lemon water in the Stanley. I try to drink like 2 or 3 of those. It's hard. It's hard to stay hydrated. I'm going to be 42 soon, and it's just like doing stuff like this is a reminder that I'm getting older. But that's why you see me drinking some water. It's lemon water. Thank you very much. Let's talk about Heisman contenders. I am going to first tell you a couple of names that aren't on the list, and I just wanted to mention them. So these are going to be my honorable mention Heisman contenders at the midway point. And they didn't make the list, and it's really not a fault of their own. And I know that this is a frustrating aspect of this award, but it's still a combination for me. And I know that this is not in the definition, but let's face it, this is what it has become. It is a combination of team success and player success. So there's a couple of teams that have played okay, one way above expectations, one below expectations, but not on a level where you would expect the Heisman Trophy to come from that team. Here are those 2 names. Jaden Daniels from LSU and Shedeur Sanders from Colorado. These 2 guys are having excellent seasons. In large part, they're the reason that their teams are succeeding because they don't have very good defenses. And in Colorado's case, they barely have an offensive line, and yet here they are still succeeding. Guess what? Same thing with Jaden Daniels. That defense is horrific. If Jaden Daniels had a defense at all, he would be 1 or 2 in this Heisman race right now, but he's not. And in large part because the LSU Tigers don't play any defense. So I just wanted to give you kind of that shout out to Shedeur and to Jaden. Those guys are balling out, playing really, really well. All right, now I'm going to go 6-1 in my Heisman rankings. These are official, by the way. These are Joel Klatt Show official Heisman rankings at the midway point. Number 6, Jordan Travis from Florida State. Okay, so Jordan is playing really well, and he's got some wins and those notches in the belt. And what I love about watching him, though, when I turn on the film of Florida State, I see a guy that is in real command of what he has around him and what he sees on the other side of the ball. He's a smart player. Now, aside from all the other things that he does, he's experienced, he can run, he can threaten the defense, all these things. He's accurate, but what I really love is that when I'm watching their tape and I see the schematics where I see Keon Coleman in a one-on-one situation, I'm like, he's getting the ball. Jordan does a great job of not overlooking his greatest asset. In particular, down in the red zone. I think you saw that against Clemson in overtime. You certainly saw that against LSU. In the biggest moments against the best teams, when he gets one-on-one, he goes to Keon Coleman. But that's not enough to just go to Keon Coleman. You've got to then throw a ball that I would say is a competent, catchable 50-50 ball. You don't want to drive it on his back shoulder to make the adjustment too tough. You don't want to bring him inside toward the defender, and you certainly don't want to throw it too far where they've got to stretch out and they might not catch it. The competent 50-50 throw is like a free throw on top of the helmet of the wide receiver. When you've got a guy that is physically more gifted and will win the battle in a 50-50 situation, you're essentially shooting a free throw onto the top of his helmet. That gives him the best chance to adjust and win, and that's what he does, Jordan Travis. I think it's one of his greatest strengths. He knows his personnel. He doesn't pass it up. Okay, he doesn't be like, oh, he's one-on-one, I'm going to go play the foundation or the concept over here. No. He's getting the ball because that guy's really good. And then he gives him a competent, catchable 50-50 ball. Again, a free throw onto the top of his helmet. I really love it. Okay, next in my Heisman rankings. Again, official Heisman rankings. Bo Nix, Oregon. Bo Nix from Oregon is next up on my Heisman rankings. Bo right now, very quietly, even though they played Colorado and they had 10 million people watching that game, quietly leading the country in completion percentage. And he's in complete control of that offense. When I watch Oregon, I see a guy that is oozing experience. The old moniker, and I hate this because it's used too much, but like, hey, he's a coach on the field. It just means that the guy puts the ball in the right spot based on the look all the time. When I'm watching Oregon, the ball is out quickly. It's going to the right spot. It is generally an accurate throw. He can use his legs when needed, when the play breaks down. The guy is just playing, I think, his best football. We thought he played really great last year. I think he's playing even better this year. The athleticism allows him to make those plays, but it's more than that. It's his mind. He's making great decisions that allow the offense to be at its best. You know, I think there's a misconception out there that no quarterback wants to be called a game manager. I totally disagree with that. In fact, I think that the best quarterbacks in the world are also game managers. It just so happens that some game managers can take their game above the X's and O's at times. You can't do that all the time or else it's reckless. But when needed, can you go above the X's and O's? Right now, he's an excellent game manager. And then there are times when needed, he can scramble and he can make throws and decisions that take him above the X's and O's. All right, back to the rankings. That's 6 and 5, Jordan Travis and Bo Nix. Now we go to number 4. And I think a lot of people would have those two a little bit higher. But here's a guy that has burst on the scene in the last couple of weeks. I like Dillon Gabriel at number 4 from Oklahoma. Dillon played so well against the Texas Longhorns in the biggest stage, certainly in Oklahoma's season. And really, when you're thinking about that game, that's one of the marquee games in all of college football. That is, as Toby Rowland, the play-by-play of the Oklahoma Sooners broadcast on radio, put it, that was a legacy drive at the end for Dillon Gabriel. It's more than a legacy drive. That's a Heisman caliber drive, what he did at the end. Now, Dillon's game is built around efficiency. It's built around being what I would consider a point guard out there. Rather than the true quarterback, he's a point guard. When I watch the film of Oklahoma, the ball is out of his hands so quickly. He's making such quick decisions. And you saw that on the last drive. Even if he was throwing the ball down the field, even if he was having to scramble out of the pocket, as soon as he had a win, the ball was out. The last play, he doesn't freak out. He doesn't panic. Rush is collapsing around him, and he just throws the ball up to the corner of the end zone because he knew he had Nick Anderson right there for the touchdown. I am bummed for him that Andrell Anthony is going to be out. If you haven't heard that news, Andrell Anthony, the outside receiver for OU, he's banged up and he's got a knee issue. But Gabriel, I'll tell you, man, nearly 400 total yards against UT, the 75-yard drive with 1:17 left. That's Heisman caliber stuff. Love his quick decisions, a point guard out there, ball out of his hands. And I love watching him play. And he deserves to be on this list, and he's at number 4. Now, here's another guy that I might have higher than others, but this one just falls into the category of like, hey, most outstanding, team doing well, most outstanding player in the country. Yep, I'm a buyer of this guy. If he's a stock right now, Drake Maye from North Carolina. Drake Maye is number 3 on my official Heisman ranking right now. He's 4th in the country in passing at a little over 325 yards per game. He's completed 70% in every single game this year. And even though he got off to a bit of a slow start with 4 interceptions in his first 3 games, he's coming off of a game that they had Syracuse and he went off 497, 4 touchdowns. The guy is uber talented. And like I said earlier, if Caleb Williams wasn't wearing a college football uniform right now, Drake Maye would be the runaway number 1 pick. Everyone's talking about like, hey, these NFL teams, they're going to tank for Caleb Williams. 2 teams are getting great quarterbacks. 2 teams. Drake Maye, his game translates so well to the NFL. The windows that he sees on the field, when most college quarterbacks would see a guy that's covered, he sees a guy that's open. He's got the talent then to throw them open. He's got the confidence to throw them open. He's also way more athletic than you would expect. And what I love about his athleticism is that he doesn't run out and around the pocket. He moves up in the pocket. That's NFL stuff. When you protect the ball and you get back up into the pocket, first of all, you can then run through the A and B gaps of the rush and get more positive yards, or you can really threaten the entire field, because as good as some of these guys are outside of the pocket, as soon as you leave the pocket one direction or another, the field effectively shrinks. It goes from 53 and a half down to 40, down to 30, down to 20, down to 15, the longer you run. And so the area that the defense has to cover shrinks. Now, when you're Caleb Williams and you got a howitzer on the, attached to your right shoulder, it doesn't matter quite as much. But when you're Drake Maye and you can escape moving forward, now you maintain the 53 and a half. That's why quarterbacks, if you're a young quarterback, stop backing up. Stop running out of the pocket one direction out and around the tackle. Get yourself up in the pocket and threaten the defense down the field that way. Drake Maye does that. Then he throws really accurately. He's got great touch. He can drive the ball. He can make every single throw. So Drake Maye is number 3. Okay, here's my last 2. I think you probably know who the last 2 are. So at number 2, I'm going to go with Michael Penix from Washington. He's completing 75% of his passes, top 5 in the country. He's averaging 400 yards per game, most in college football. He's also number 1 in yards per attempt at over 11 per attempt. He's only thrown 14 passes in the fourth quarter and still has that volume of yardage in 5 games. And he's averaging 377 yards per game in the first 3 quarters. By the way, that's 91 more than the next closest player, which is Drake Maye. This guy is a great passer of the football. There are a lot of guys in college football that can throw the ball well. They throw a pretty ball. They've got good arm talent, and there are few that are terrific passers of the football. Now, let me try to explain what I'm talking about. When I watch Michael Penix, the ball is always on the correct leverage based on the defense. So he is communicating with his ball placement at all times. He's throwing the wide receiver away from the defender at all times. The trajectory is correct at all times. If he's throwing a slot fade versus a single safety, he knows he has one-on-one coverage. That ball is never missed inside. It's never missed inside. In fact, it's always missed on the outside shoulder. It's like Tiger Woods playing the back 9 in the Masters. He's never going to short side himself. So everyone says missing the correct spot. Michael Penix misses, if you will, or leverages always to the correct spot. I love watching him play because he's a terrific passer. Again, there are guys that are great throwers and really talented throwers and really have an immense amount of arm talent, but very few guys are really great passers of the ball, and he's a great passer of the ball. I love watching him play because of that. I think it's a big reason why they've got such gaudy numbers at Washington. You couple that with the fact that he's got terrific wide receivers, and Michael Penix is number 2, which means you know exactly where I'm going for number 1. Number 1, Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams is my number 1 right now. I think that he's the best player in college football. They're still undefeated. He's also the MVP, if you would call it that, because that team does not look very good on the defensive side right now. They are struggling. They need Zachariah Branch back desperately because the offense is much different without Branch on the field, the terrific true freshman. This guy is his own strike force. He's like a Navy SEAL team all in one player. He is remarkable. The precision with which he strikes with and the element of he doesn't even have to be playing well. His team doesn't even have to be playing well. You can have all the momentum. This USC offense isn't great outside of him without Branch. 28 total touchdowns, though, he still has in just 6 games. That's 11 more than he had at this point last year when he won the award, and he finished with 52. He's got 28 total touchdowns. When things break down, he can still be a threat with his legs. And again, no matter what is happening on the field, this guy is a threat at any moment. Defense is perfect. He's still a threat. This is why he's a generational talent, and he's still leading right now in my Heisman Trophy. 28 total touchdowns. Come on, these people are like, well, I don't know. You know, it's tough to win it twice. Watch him play. Somebody watch him play, please. Somebody. If you're a voter and you don't vote for Caleb Williams just because he already won the award, that's your problem, not his. And your vote should be stripped. Just watch. Now, if he doesn't win it, fine. If somebody else outplays him or beats him head to head, fine. And you know what? There'll be that chance going down the stretch. But don't just say he can't win 2 in a row because the only person that did that is Archie. Why do we got to protect Archie so much? I love Archie. Love Archie. Hey, Archie. Love you, buddy. I hope you're a listener, a subscriber, and I'm sure you are. Please subscribe wherever you're listening to your podcast or your YouTube, just like Archie Griffin, 2-time Heisman Trophy winner. But we don't have to protect Archie Griffin. It's this same notion that in any of these sports writers are like, well, I'm never going to vote for someone as a first ballot Hall of Famer. Why? That sounds like a you problem, not a they problem. Anyways, I digress. Caleb Williams is my number 1 in the Heisman Trophy. Thank you for watching the Joel Klatt Show YouTube channel. And if you liked this clip, make sure to like it and subscribe to the channel. And you can stay up to date on all of my college football coverage.